Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody, on this beautiful Saturday, April 29th. I am your host, Coach Paul Tripoli. Coach Trip to my players, right? 8 great years at Catholic High School, 5 fantastic years at Tate. Today, we got a great interview. Marc Mero, talk a little bit more about him. Don't forget Monday and Wednesdays, Coach Trip's Tips or the Bear Facts, BEAR Facts. Also, sports books worth reading segments we could pop up on Monday and Wednesdays. Also, Kids Corner with the NFL draft going on right now. We might do Kids Corner next week with Harley Thompson. Thursdays, local sports report here in the beautiful panhandle of Florida, Pensacola, Florida. We'll cover all Pensacola sports. And I want to give a shout out to former Pine Forest High School DB Devin Witherspoon, who was picked number 5 by the Seattle Seahawks in the first round. We have 4 DBs from Pensacola in the NFL. Can you believe it? This is DB town. I love it. All right, folks. Marc Mero is coming up in a little bit. I've been doing this show for 12 years, and I've done 600 shows. I've had hundreds of guests on, but Marc Mero is my favorite. Absolutely my favorite guest coming on. A rags to riches story financially and a rags to riches story emotionally. You want all your family and friends to watch this show. World Wrestling Champion Johnny B. Bad, they called him for the last 20 years. He has been Johnny B. Good. Traveling the world as a motivational speaker, saving hundreds, if not thousands of kids' lives. My former high school football teammate and friend for over 40 years speaks from the heart. Semi-pro hockey player as a teenager, multiple Golden Gloves boxing champion. He married Sable. He wrestled all the great ones and became a world champion. He is an angel on earth. You don't want to miss this story. Coming up in 2 minutes, folks, here on Coach's Corner, we try to inspire and educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, and the body to act. 2 minutes, Marc Mero's coming up. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us after these short messages.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
Hey, Bill, some game, huh?
I haven't really noticed, Paul.
What? The biggest game of the year?
I've been looking over my insurance. Talk about problems I'm trying to figure out.
Well, do what I did. Call the Seiler Agency. They showed me what I needed and what I didn't. They even saved me money. Now, instead of worrying about my insurance, I can worry about the big game.
Contact the Seiler Agency at 476-7443 for all of your insurance needs. Your independent agent for home, auto, boat, RV, commercial, general liability, life, and sound investment strategies. Call 476-7443 today.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
Wrote down his dreams and goals, setting his sights on athletics. Mears worked hard to achieve success in hockey, football, boxing, and became a world wrestling champion. After reaching the pinnacle of entertainment as a WCW and WWE wrestling champion, Marc suffered an enormous loss and learned that money and fame can't buy happiness. Quote, "It's not in your pocket, it's in your heart that truly matters." Mears, tell everybody, we're going to spend the next hour here, but I want everybody to know your story from the beginning, and then we'll go from there.
Well, obviously it's a long story, but I'm going to give you kind of the short version. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and then we grew up in one of the worst drug and gang infested neighborhoods in the west side of Buffalo. And it was there that I really developed my skills in athletics. I always dreamed of being a professional athlete. In fact, I still have the book. I wrote down my dreams and goals when I was 10 years old, being a professional athlete, winning rookie of the year, becoming a millionaire, all these things I wrote down as a kid that were, dreams and hopes and goals of my life that I wanted to come true. But I carry that book wherever I go. I just did a corporate presentation for the sheriff's department, the winter conference for Florida sheriffs. And I had that little book with me, and I explained to them about how important is that. I don't care how old you are, man. Dreams and goals. I think when you stop dreaming, you stop living. And and one of the things that I shared with them is that I will never retire. I'll just refire. And it's so important, man, to always have a reason to get up every day. Trip, so many times that I've read stories and have known people that they could not wait to retire. That's all they talked about was retirement, And the next thing they retire. And many times they're so bored because they don't know what to do with themselves. They didn't plan for retirement. It just comes up on you very quickly. And all of a sudden you go, okay, so what do I got to do today? I'm going to go fishing or go do this. But the problem is that many people die shortly after they retire. And this should be a time in your life that you should just be able to enjoy it, And that's why I said I always want to have a reason to get up in the morning. So I don't ever see myself as retiring. You might slow down a little bit, but you have to have a reason to get up every day. And that's what I found, reinventing myself, and Trip, when I think about it, most amazing things that happened to me happened later on in life. A lot of people don't realize that I didn't become a professional athlete, a professional wrestler until I was 31 years old. I became an inspirational speaker at 47. I wrote my first book at 50 years old. I became an ordained minister at 52. I ran for a seat in the Senate at 65. Okay, that hasn't happened yet, okay? But I keep dreaming and believing big, man.
But Mears, you got such a beautiful story from the beginning. I mean, not without tragedy, though. You've spoken to thousands of schools, millions of kids. You've written letters, testimonials from kids telling you that you saved their life, Mears. 99% of people on this earth have not heard those words, maybe except doctors. What is the feeling like when a kid writes you or tells you that you saved his life? Does it get any better than that?
Trip, I'd say that's it gives me a reason every day to want to continue to do what I do. I mean, you take on a lot of heartache because remember, we get about 100 messages a day through our social media platforms, and we have a staff that goes through all those letters. And then, of course, ones that are forwarded to me that I personally answer are obviously kids that are suffering from depression, anxiety, being bullied or abused, and certainly kids that feel suicidal. I just got one yesterday, matter of fact, and I get them every couple of days. You get one like that, and these are kids that we really have to pour into, let them know that somebody cares, that somebody's there for them, Trip, I share a quick story with you. I spoke at a school recently, and the principal was telling me about this young man that was at my presentation, and he got a full scholarship to a Division I college. I mean, amazing football player, probably maybe someday you can go professional. And but I seen him, and the principal goes, "Hey, can you go over and give him a few positive words?" And I thought, wow, it's amazing that the one kid that is going to be probably so successful in this school was a kid that kind of had his head down, sitting there. So I went over to him and go, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And he goes, "Hey, I really enjoyed your presentation today. It really, really inspires me." And I said, "Man, I heard you got a scholarship to a Division I school." I said, "Man, you got so many scholarships. It's amazing. Now you get to pick where you want to go to one of the best schools in the country." I said, "Your parents must be so proud of you." And he said to me, "They never saw me play." Trip, Could you imagine us being athletes that our parents never came to a game or
Yeah.
sporting event? You know when your mom or dad's in the stands, you hear their voice,
Right.
And I got to tell you, that one really hit me because of being an athlete myself and hearing my mother screaming in the whether we're on the football field or in the hockey rink or boxing or wherever, hearing that voice, knowing she's there or my father's there. My father used to work my corner for my boxing matches. So I thought, wow, how sad is that to go through life, but to become that successful and never have nobody in your corner?
Mm-hmm.
It just
Mm-hmm.
really spoke to me, and it really made me think about what so many young people are going through today, because it's such a different world, Trip. I mean, we could look at, a lot of people say these kids are so soft today, they need to be toughened up and this and that, but we could also see what social media and what we have designed for them in a sense. When the parents always say something like, I never wanted as tough as I had it for my kids. Maybe that's why you've become so successful, because through our struggles, we find our strength. And many times when you just hand something to someone, it's not always valued. And Trip, I saw this at my own presentations. When we went to a school and we didn't charge them nothing. We just did it for free, I noticed something that happens when a school pays for us to come, because obviously airlines and hotels and rental cars are very expensive. People have no idea the money that's involved in traveling all over the country, But when we did a school, we said, this school's really hurting. We're going to do this for free. We would show up at a school, and I'll never forget this. The principal goes, "Oh, is today the presentation?" Like it was not even a big deal because the school had no skin in the game,
Right.
And it's so important. And I think it's the same way in life. When you're just handed something, you don't value it as much as if you had to work for it. And I think that's what we're losing a lot, is the work ethic that maybe we saw our parents or our grandparents have that we don't see as much today, that we're not instilling in our kids. And then when you hand a kid one of these cell phones right here, I got to tell you, man, you are handing a child something that is, especially when these kids are getting, we would do these parent conferences and they're giving their kids 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. They're handing them an iPhone, It opens a door to violence, to pornography, to so many illicit things that kids can't even comprehend what they're even viewing at that age.
Right.
And then we wonder why our kids are so, they're so sexually active at such a young age, or promiscuous, or going through some hard times, or feeling they don't own up to what someone else looks like,
Right. You're right. You're right about that, Mears. The kids, I get questioned, do the kids change? No, the kids don't change. It's the parents that have changed. The kids are like a piece of clay. You can mold them if you just give them direction and caring guidance. Today, Mark, you're still traveling around the world. When you founded Champions of Choices in 2007. And you do anti-bullying, substance abuse, suicide prevention, and lives are saved and changed, and thousands of people credit you. But you have not been without tragedy. You have been to, I'm guessing, hundreds of funerals that most people would never even ever attend, would never even experience it. So you're saving kids' lives, but I think, did the pandemic hurt mental health for teenagers as well?
Yeah. Trip, you're so right. I mean, any of your listeners out there that have experienced the death of a loved one know exactly what I'm about to say, is that it's one of the hardest things to go through. My mother was only 58 years old when she died, and 2 weeks later, my 21-year-old brother died. 2 weeks from the death of my mom. And it was so strange to be at the same funeral home, seeing the same casket and the same people. And it was almost like, I remember people that were lined up to speak to us were like, "Mark, I don't even know what to say." And it was like, you don't have to say anything. Just you being here means so much to anyone that's grieving or going through a hard time. But, Trip, all these deaths that I've been through in my life, that I've seen so much tragedy and hurt and pain and brokenness in people's lives, have really helped me to understand and to help others go through it, to walk through that. I got a letter today, matter of fact, this young man, his cousin died. They were very close and just died suddenly. And he's like, I can't go on. I mean, he's married, he's got kids. He's like, I'm having so much trouble going on. And the one thing I say to people that are going through the grieving process, and we all grieve differently. When the worst thing you could say to someone is, man, just get over it. Some people, it might take a week, a month, a year. And sometimes people have a lot of trouble getting over it. But what has really helped me, and I want to share this, is that when my mom died, and just like your parents, they were at all our sporting events, and they loved us so much. And my mom would never want to see me constantly grieving, being depressed, hurting, not getting out of my life and living a victorious life. She'd be, Mark, are you kidding me? You get going, And that's why I think anyone that really loved us, that has passed on, would always want the best for us too. And you're doing them a disservice by not getting on with your life. Yes, it's okay to go through a grieving process. It's okay to cry and be upset and be hurt. But comes a point where you have to move on with your life because you're affecting everybody else around you, especially children or people that need you in their life for emotional support.
Mero, so let's talk a little sports for a little bit. Wildman Mero, Johnny B. Bad. Did Dusty Rose play Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Bad song in Johnny B. Good and come up with Johnny? How did you come up? Who discovered you in wrestling? How did you get started? How did you get your names? Talk a little bit about that story.
Okay, well, it's an amazing story. I remember I was in my apartment with a bunch of friends. We were all just drinking beers, watching TV. My buddy was flipping through the TV channels, and he landed on professional wrestling. And I've always been a good athlete. Now, remember, I'm 30 years old at this point in my life, and I said, "Hey guys, I can do that." They all busted out laughing. They're going, "Oh yeah, right, Mark. Those guys are so big, they'll pick you up over their head and throw you right out of that ring." Then my other buddy goes, "Mark, you're 30 years old. What are you going to do? Start a pro career now?" And I said those two words I carry everywhere I go. I believe. And so, but it's always about the action you take next towards dreams and goals. I mean, dreams and goals mean nothing. They're just a wish if you don't do something towards them. So the action I had to take was I had to find out where there was a wrestling school. I didn't know how to wrestle. I never did professional wrestling before. And I was living in Venice, Florida. There was a wrestling school in Tampa, Florida, about 60 miles apart. I started going there after working on weekends. 1 year later, a bunch of guys at the gym were the guys that got beat up on TV. They drive 9 hours to Atlanta, Georgia to get beat up on TV for $150 by like superstars, like Sting and Road Warriors and stuff, So I said to them, "Hey, can I go with you guys?" And because they choose, like when you get there, they look at all the guys, they choose who they want to be on television. Well, they chose me to be on television. And I had to wrestle. My first match was like against Doom, who was world tag team champions. These two big guys, man, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, they were badasses, and they beat the hell out of you. I mean, when people go, wrestling's fake, well, not that it isn't. Them guys really beat the crap out of you. So anyways, long story short, after the match, Dusty Rhodes approached me and he said, "Hey, kid, anybody ever tell you look like Little Richard?" And I said, "Little Richard?" See, I thought he was talking about a wrestler, Little Richard. I said, "I never heard of Little Richard." He goes, "You don't know Little Richard?" And I said, "Oh, the singer, Little Richard. Yes, I know who he is." But I mean, I never thought I ever looked like Little Richard. But he saw the look that no one else saw, with the thin mustache, the long curly hair, and of course, being the tanning bed all the time, I became that character, Little Richard. But one of the joys I had in wrestling was that my mentor was Dusty Rhodes. He would go to the arenas before and he'd show me how to walk and talk. And, when he goes, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to say, 'I'm a bad man.'" And he'd do it for me. And we get laughing, and I'm so outrageous. It's contagious. I don't sit down. I get down. And so all these phrases that we came up with, that Dusty would do, and I would copy him. And oh my gosh, we had so much fun. We laughed so hard back then, and of course the character really got over and became, I did that for 6 years at WCW. Then I went into WWE for 4 years, then went on to TNA wrestling, XWF wrestling, and then I had my last match in 2006.
Oh my gosh, you're 45? 40?
Yes, 45 years old.
45 years old.
2000 and
oh my gosh.
2000.
Older than that.
Yeah, I was 46 years old, my last match. And I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah, it was a pay-per-view, Legends of Wrestling. I'm pretty sure that was 2006.
Yeah, I think it was.
I always kept in good shape, and I still try to, I came from the gym just a little while ago before doing this.
Tell the story how God saved your life in the shower that day, man. It's powerful.
Wow. Well, there was a time in my life, I remember leaving wrestling and with my ex-wife was Sable. Mm-hmm. And we had like $5 million. I mean, we knew we were set for life. We had plenty of money, life was going to be great. And we went through a divorce. Of course, the death of my brother, my sister, my father. So many people died in my life, and I was falling into this deep depression. Then she ended up leaving me and divorcing me. And, obviously you split everything in half and I lost that and then went through more heartache and turmoil and the housing market crash, the stock market crash. I mean, all these things and I wasn't keeping up with what I should be doing in my life. Next thing I know, I'm broke. And it was Christmas Day, 2003 was Christmas Day. And I remember I had nowhere to go, no family. My brother was going through his own stuff. My sister was going through her own stuff. I mean, serious stuff. Like we were all in bad places. Mm-hmm. And I drove to Cocoa Beach, Florida. I sat under a pier on Christmas Day. And I just remember watching the waves roll in and roll out. And I just remember feeling like I didn't want to be here anymore. And I got to tell you, this is what the gift that God gave me was understanding. I always looked at myself as one of the strongest people I knew, like I didn't know anyone stronger than me. I'd try to outrun people. I'd try to outfight people, whatever it would be, but to get to a place where you just want to give up, you don't care no more. It isn't like you're thinking about who you're going to hurt. You just don't care. You just get to a place where you don't care. And I remember that was the day I decided I wanted my life. And I drove home and retrieved my handgun. I walked into the shower. And I put my back against the wall, the gun to my head. And the idea was I would slide down the wall and when my bottom hit the ground, just kind of like almost like a wrestling bump, I'd pull the trigger. And as I'm standing against the wall, all of a sudden I get this flashes like of my little brother, my sister, my mother, my father, friends that have passed, all these people that died before me that were just flashing through my head. And I just remember I just couldn't wait to see them, thinking that I'm going to go see them, And then this vision of hell, I don't know what you want to call it, the vision, thoughts, whatever you want to call it, It was like, I remember, and it was weird because in 1981, I'll never forget this pastor I heard speak about fire and brimstone. He was one of the fire and brimstone pastors, but he spoke of hell. And it just stuck with me. It's like, this is a place I don't want to go. And I remember thinking, this is a place I don't want to go. I don't want anyone to go here. And I remember just pointing the gun away from me and falling on my knees and asking God for forgiveness. I was just begging him to change my life. I didn't even know what I was going to do, Trip. I mean, here I am starting over. The house is now for sale. I have nothing, And so I got a job as a personal trainer at Gold's Gym. And I'll never forget people would walk in at Gold's Gym. They recognize me from wrestling. Oh my gosh, Marc Mero, what are you doing here? I go, I work here. They go, you work at Gold's Gym? And it was like, it was so humbling, but it was like, I found this connection with my clients. I was a personal trainer. And, they have the wall of fame that, clients that get really good results, And I was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All my clients were getting these amazing results. So I decided to open up this little personal training studio down the street. And I hired 4 trainers I brought with me. And this place just took off, man. We started, It's called Marc Mero Body Slam. And that's from the beginning. But then I get this phone call from Melbourne High School. They wanted me to come and speak to their football players. And I thought, yeah, I'll go speak to them. Sure, give tell my story a little bit, and it really inspired these kids. And I started getting emails from kids saying how it inspired them and changed their life and stuff. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. Unbeknownst to me, they called another school and said, hey, we just had this guy come here and speak, and he did a great job. They wanted me to speak to the whole school. And that's how it started snowballing. And then some of my videos went viral, and I've been all over the world. I even went to Russia and spoke at Russia, been to Guatemala, been all over. We average about 230 events a year, Trip. And
my God,
my 16th year speaking. The only thing we had off, we did virtual events during the pandemic, but our live events were averaging about 230 a year for all those years. It's been an incredible journey. I couldn't be more blessed. And, even though I can't mention God's name at school, I just pray his love and light shine through me in some way. But when a kid contacts me that's suicidal, I can share more of my faith and even pray with them and say, hey, have you ever prayed before? Or, and some kids, they don't believe in God, and you respect that. You can't beat people that have the Bible. You got to respect what people believe in their choices. Like, we all have choices.
Right. Wow. Do you know Joe Anoy, Roman Reigns? He's from Pensacola.
I've never met him. Of course, I know who he is, obviously, from one of the great wrestlers, one of the leading wrestlers out there today,
Yeah. Do you still watch wrestling? Do you still watch wrestling?
I don't watch it that often, but I got to tell you, seeing some clips on social media, I really love that whole bloodline thing they're doing at WWE.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that have really attracted viewership and made it fun. And of course, Sami Zayn has become a big star out of this whole thing. So he's kind of fun to watch now, and their promos and things that they're doing are really fun. So
Mears, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine.
Sure.
This is Coach Mark Hobley here.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for what you do for the kids.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that so much.
I want to introduce you to Owen over here.
Owen.
Hey, Owen.
Hey, Owen.
Owen's visiting his uncle here across the street, and he's from Minnesota, and you came to his high school a few years ago. Yes.
Yeah, you sure did.
What high school was it?
It's Crookston High School in Minnesota.
Crookston High School.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
isn't something? It's funny, Trip. I meet kids every day wherever I go. I always meet someone that says, "Oh my gosh, you spoke at my high school or my middle school," or parents that meet me and go, "Oh, you spoke at my kids." It's really funny because when I go through the airport now, people don't recognize me from wrestling; they recognize me from speaking at their school.
Well, yeah, but Mears, you've impacted thousands of lives in after wrestling. Yeah, you might be famous for wrestling, but now maybe you're more famous for helping other kids. My gosh, we got so much more to talk about. You played pro hockey as a high school kid. You were a 3-time Golden Glove boxing champion in New York State. You taught me how to fight on ice skates.
I'm clear. I want to clear something. I never played pro hockey. I played for the Syracuse Stars, which was junior hockey.
Semi-pro, semi-pro.
And but yeah, I played. I made their team. I think I was 16 years old when I played for them. And but that was quite the league back then. I'll tell you, that was a very rough league.
Mears, we got to take a short break, but we want to keep you on for the last half hour, if that's okay. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Barnes Heating and Air is a proud sponsor of Alabama football, serving the entire Pensacola community for over 50 years. Barnes Heating and Air is passionate about providing customers with world-class air conditioning and heating repairs, sales, and installation. Barnes Heating and Air is family-owned, insured, and committed to quality. For a free estimate, call 478-0141. Barnes Heating and Air is #1 in customer service with service calls 7 days a week. Call Barnes Heating and Air, 478-0141, and roll Tide.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
Hey, Bill, some game, huh?
I haven't really noticed, Paul.
What? The biggest game of the year?
I've been looking over my insurance. Talk about problems I'm trying to figure out.
Well, do what I did. Call the Seiler Agency. They showed me what I needed and what I didn't. They even saved me money. Now, instead of worrying about my insurance, I can worry about the big game.
Contact the Seiler Agency at 476-7443 for all of your insurance needs. Your independent agent for home, auto, boat, RV, commercial, general liability, life, and sound investment strategies. Call 476-7443 today.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on your home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Will Rentschler is your go-to agent in Pensacola, Florida for the service you deserve at the price that you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Will Rentschler has you covered. Call 850-433-4678 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Legal disclaimer, individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We're with Marc Mero, World Wrestling Champion, and now founder of Champions of Choices, thinkpos.org. Is that right, Mears? You go to thinkpos.org?
You got it right. Thinkpos, P-O-Z.org.
P-O-Z. All right, so you've wrestled so many great wrestlers, so many great champions. What was your toughest match? And talk a little bit about how you feeling. How's your heart? How you doing, man? How's your shoulders doing?
I've had 14 surgeries. I feel amazing right now. I mean, I really it's crazy when you really take care of yourself. But I eat really clean. I train 3 times a week. I do high intensity training, but low impact.
Yeah.
And so I do everything very, very, very methodical. Like there's no more bouncing the weights, or it's very slow and controlled, But I feel really good, man. I'm probably the healthiest I've been in a long time. But I was blessed to be in wrestling at probably the greatest time. The Attitude Era back then was probably the greatest time when I got to wrestle so many greats. I mean, when you think of the guys I wrestled, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Diamond Dallas Page, Triple H, The Rock, Big Show, the list, Sting, Ric Flair, the list goes on and on that I was blessed to work with and to have great matches with. Like, for example, there's 3 guys I probably wrestled the most. Okay. When I said wrestled the most because we were in WCW and WWE, but, and I wrestled all those years, but we'd be in programs together where people might see you wrestle, on television at a pay-per-view, but they don't realize you're wrestling that guy every single day across the country in arena shows, But I'll give you 3 that I probably wrestled the most. Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he was Stunning Steve in WCW and then Stone Cold in WWE. We had programs together against each other for years and years, and I beat him in the Intercontinental. When I won the Intercontinental title, I beat him in the tournament. Let's see, Triple H. In fact, Triple H's first title, he was like a 16-time world champion now. His first title was when he beat me for the Intercontinental title, and we've gone back and forth. So we were in W7. We wrestled probably over 200 times. And same thing with DDP. Me and him, man, I probably did more pay-per-views against Diamond Dallas Page than anyone else out there. So I was blessed to wrestle some of the greats, man.
What do you have any advice for young wrestlers, young boxers, young athletes that are trying to get into the sport?
Yeah, when I look at things that I did right and things that I could have done better, and that's what's really important is I think so many athletes today, if they really want to go to a level of professional or really want to excel at their sport, it's what you put into it. I mean, there are a lot of gifted athletes, but some of the greatest athletes I've ever seen aren't the so much gifted ones, the ones that work so hard and it becomes so amazing.
Yep.
I'll tell you, let me give you an example. Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was not one of the greatest athletes. He wasn't like a Shawn Michaels or something, but what he did every single match, he would be behind the curtains and he'd be peeking through watching. I used to think to myself, my God, what does he do? Watch every single match? But I never realized that he understood everybody he wrestled, how he can have a good match with that person because he knew their moves. He knew what they excelled at. And he was a student of the game. Same thing with Triple H and Diamond Dallas Page. Those guys were so good because they studied other wrestlers. Where, man, there was times where I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to stay and watch all the matches. I'm just going to get on the next plane and go home or whatever, or go to the next town or drive to the next town or go to my hotel room. I don't want to sit there and watch all these matches. But as I look back, I thought, wow, I could have probably excelled so much more if I would have understood more,
Good.
Same thing with young athletes today is what you put into it. I mean, this social media has taken so much of we could spend hours and hours on social media instead of putting that even a tenth of that time into our profession or what we want to do later on in life. So if I got any advice for young people, man, concentrate, love what you do because you don't want to look back on your life and say, why didn't I try harder? Zig Ziglar has the famous lines that said, it's better to try and fail than fail to try.
Are steroids prevalent as they once were? I remember you going on national television shows, Nancy Grace and other ones, bringing awareness to the serious dangers of it. Has it gone down? Are we doing better in that respect?
I got to tell you that I'm kind of I'm blackballed from wrestling. Like you'll never see me allowed to come to a WWE event.
Oh, no way. Because you talked up, because I
spoke out against it. But I got to tell you the blessing, and that's why I will never look back at my life and say I wish I didn't do that, because they now have the strictest testing. You very seldom see a wrestler die from an overdose like they did when I was there, that we saw so many.
You had many friends die. You had many friends die of overdoses, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
You had many friends die.
Many, and we don't see that as much now. They've got some of the stricter drug testing now, Olympic drug testing that they've implemented. But I'll tell you another thing that happened because of guys like myself that spoke out is that any wrestler that has ever stepped into a WWE ring, whether it was one time or thousands of times, they get free drug and alcohol rehab now. I mean, years later. Let's say I fell into hard times and started partying again and had to go to rehab. They would pay for it, which I think is, I commend them for doing that, because it has saved a lot of lives. Like, for example, Jake Roberts and Scott Hall went to rehab a few times, that WWE helped them and paid for that. And there's many of my other friends that have been blessed to go, Buff Bagwell and some others that were recently in drug and alcohol rehab that WWE would pay for. So I'm really blessed to know that people like myself that stood up back then helped to implement those changes.
Help make the future
been saved today that don't even realize it was because of guys like myself that stood up.
Yes, guys like yourself who stood up and talked against it, and now they have better benefits in medical care because of it. Yeah,
I have the one of the top programs in the country at school presentations, and how cool would it have been if WWE would have partnered with me on school presentations? They have a program called Make a Star or something like that, where they'll have one of the wrestlers go to a school and the kids go crazy because they see the guy on TV, but they don't really share a story like we do, where we really touch kids' hearts and change lives by showing what drug and alcohol and and depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts can do to not only the student, but to their family. So that's what's, but I've been so cool to partner with them if they would have just, let bygones be bygones. Man, don't hold something against that you don't realize I probably helped you more than ever hurt you by speaking out on news shows about the steroid use and things that were wrong.
Okay, so you wrote your first book, How to Be the Happiest Person on the Planet, in 2010. Talk a little bit about that book, and I think you've written one or two more. Talk about those.
Yeah, here's the thing about writing a book. Okay, now I was never great in school, Trip, as you probably know. Okay, and but so here's what I did, because I always believe in visuals. Okay, and this is someone out there that has a goal or a dream. Listen to this. Okay, this is very important. All I did was take a Post-it note, and I wrote on the Post-it note, I wrote book 2010. Now, at that time, it was 2008. So in other words, I gave myself 2 years to write a book. I put it on my computer. So every day I'm in front of that computer, I see that Post-it note, book 2010. See, when something's in front of you, it's a reminder. So many times we go, oh, I want to do this or do that. How many times, Trip, have you met adults, people, our peers, that will say, oh, I always wished I would have done this or done that, But when it's in front of you, it forces you to take action towards that goal or dream. So anyways, long story short, every day I'm seeing this Post-it note, book 2010. 1 year goes by, Trip, and I don't do nothing about it, but I'm still seeing it. I'm getting angry at myself because, that stupid Post-it note, I had 1 year left. I started writing as much as possible, and it started coming together. Like the book started it's becoming real because I'm taking action towards my dream or goal. Right. December of 2010, my book was written. I'm sorry, December of 2009, 1 month before 2010, my book was published and was available for sale. So I beat my goal, but it was only because of Post-it note. Otherwise, I'd still be saying, someday I'm going to write a book.
Like me. That's what I've been saying, Maris. But you're right. You write it down. You write your goals down, and you look at them. And a goal without a plan, like you said, is called a wish. Coolest thing that ever happened on stage, and the strangest thing that ever happened to you on stage.
In schools?
No, wrestling.
Oh, wrestling.
Or schools. The most dramatic thing that happened to you on stage at a school. Either one.
A lot of funny things. Like this is really weird, because I've done thousands and thousands of events. You become really aware of the audience, okay? And little things that happen don't bother you. Like, for example, a giant screen falls down in the middle of your presentation, where you can continue speaking, or I've had kids pass out, throw up. I've had a fight break out. I've had announcements. We just had one recently where the announcement came over the PA system while I'm doing my presentation, where the music teacher didn't know that there was a mic turned on in their studio, and she's just yelling at a student who's coming across. And I just said, I'm glad she's not my teacher. And, everybody laughs. And, you got to roll with things, but you become very good at it, because you've experienced a lot of tough things. And also kids that are disruptive, that look for attention. Mm-hmm. You could have the best kids. Like, I speak in front of thousands of kids, and you could have, you're in front of these big audiences. There's sometimes a kid that's going through a really hard time that just wants attention and he's being a jerk. Mm-hmm. So he's talking, or he's like, you mentioned about drugs, and he'll go, woo, smoke a little of that, or something, and you have to understand how to deal with this with students and things like that. So, but as far as in wrestling, we've had some, funny things, some unreal things. Diamond Dallas Page and I have experienced quite a few things because we wrestle each other so many times. But that son of a gun he had wrestling on his mind so much. He would call me at 2 or 3 in the morning when I was sleeping and go, hey, hey, bro, listen, I got a spot I want to try at the show tomorrow. I'm like, what time is it? And it's Dale's. It's 3 a.m. He goes, I know, but I can't sleep. I got to talk to you about this. So he would drive me crazy, man.
So you've done thousands and thousands. I remember when I talked to you, you were on the show a few years ago, and you'd stay up at night and write letters to these kids. What do you say to them that you connect? Is it the story, the heartfelt story that you tell them that you connect with these kids? Is that what it comes? Is that what comes from?
Oh, don't trip. I can like do this. Let me share something with you, okay?
Sure.
This student wrote this is one that I actually saved because it really touched my heart. My videos that have gone viral, not just being on stage presence, but my videos on social media. Let me read you one. This is this little girl named Casey that wrote this to me. She said, I had pills in one hand and a drink in the other. I had enough to end my life. I was ready to leave all because I didn't fit in. I felt unwanted, like I wasn't supposed to be around, like I was God's mistake. I looked on Facebook one last time and saw your video about your mom. I looked at your page and with tears rolling down my face, I put the pills away and read your posts. This was 10 minutes ago. If it wasn't for that video, I'd be filled with pills on the way to see God. Thank you. And those are just an example of letters I get that from students that, and Trip, I have, if you can see on my page, I get hundreds of these every single day,
Oh my God, Mears, how do you do it every day?
But the other thing I get, Trip, and I get kids that are self-harming, and they send me the pictures of their self-harm. And we work on getting these kids in pictures. Then I got this one little girl, she just sent me a picture of, and this was kind of cute. I don't know if you can even see it. It's a picture of a blade and a toilet. And it says, bye-bye blades. I'm doing this because Marc Mero came to my school today and touched me deeply with his story. I'll never forget what he said because it's what changed my life today. Thank you so much. I will never cut again. And, so getting letters like that just keeps you going, Trip. It's,
oh my gosh.
I got to share some kind of personal, because many times and even as adults, we start doubting ourselves, Trip. We get to a certain age in life, When I started this program, I was married at that time, and I was 47 years old, 16 years ago. And I said to my wife at that time, I said, man, I can do this for maybe 3 years. No kid in middle school or high school is going to listen to a guy over 50 coming on stage trying to talk about stuff, And I'm 62 now, Trip, and I've never connected better with students than I do today. I've never had a better relationship or connection with students. And it's funny because when you show like montage of things I've done, we show like with celebrities, right? You're showing pictures of me having dinner with the president and Muhammad Ali and the rock group Kiss and stuff. First of all, the president was Jimmy Carter. Now, when you think about that, that's like talking about Abe Lincoln to kids. You know what I mean? Like it's actually funny because they're like, "Who's Muhammad Ali?" They're from a different era. So it's kind of hilarious when they're like, "Huh? Who's that?"
My gosh, Mears, you're such an inspiration to so many people. You'd have been a great coach. You've been a great football coach. You'd have been a great boxing coach, wrestling coach, because you touch the lives of kids. And I had Danny Warfel on my show a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the impact and that his foundation do, and maybe what great coaches, right? The great Billy Graham says, a coach will impact a kid's life in 1 year more than most people do in a lifetime. But you are a coach of life. Man, you're not just a coach of a certain sport, you're a life coach. And Joe Ehrman, a great player, lacrosse and football player at Syracuse, he wrote a couple, really good books that talk about that subject of, teaching kids to be other-centered, right? Not about themselves. If you focus on helping somebody else, then you'll get more in return than if you try to get stuff from somebody all the time.
Yes, the more you give, the more you get back in life, man. We had a really tough coach on our team, Coach George O'Leary, who I went and saw just a little less than a year ago. I went to his house here in Georgia.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, man. We spent the day together. We went to lunch together. We sat out at his pool together. And we just reminisce. And I started reminding him of some of the things he would do to us back then that we could not do today. Trip. Trip, do you remember when he used to put all the players in a circle and he'd call a number and you go to the center of the circle, then he would call another number and you
bull in the ring.
Or then he'd call 2 or 3 numbers and guys were just hitting each other. And I can't do that today, man.
No, you can't. I'm so glad you went to see him, man. I talked to him on the phone, and
I got to tell you,
I'm so glad you went to see him.
He's got a great memory too. He remembers all of us, man. He remembers that championship team in 1979 like it happened yesterday. He knew all the players' names. He was asking me, and I told him I do your show, and stuff, and obviously he had his kind of favorites, and his favorites were guys that tried really hard, guys that he saw potential, guys that he knew really put in the work, and that's the guys that he gravitated to, and guys that he really helped, and I think became closer to than maybe some of the other players that you just kind of went through the motions, But we had a championship team, man, and Trip, I don't know if you remember, we only lost one game. It was to Oswego. Yeah. I've spoken to Oswego High School a couple of times. And I was reminded of that, what they did to us, because it was a rainy, cold day, and we lost that game. We should have never lost. We were the best team in the state. We lost that game. And I don't know if you remember, Trip, but it was freezing cold, and he wouldn't let us take showers or anything. We had to wear our equipment with our helmets on the school bus with the windows open all the way back to Liverpool. It was freezing.
We beat him the next year, and we didn't lose another game after that.
Yeah, man, that's right. That's right.
Must have been something. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. How's Joel? How's your brother doing, man? He's doing good.
Doing great, man. In fact, I'm going to have dinner with him tonight. I got my girlfriend. I'm going to have dinner with him and his wife tonight. And I don't know if you heard the story, but Trip, Joel found out that after 30 years that he had a son he never knew about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he got a call from the mother and said, hey, 30 years ago, you and I had a fling, and you have a son. And at first you're kind of skeptical, like, really? Of course, they went and had DNA testing, and now Joel has not only flown his son here with his family, and he's put him in charge of his pool business. And
wow.
It's incredible. He's a great kid too, man. It's like seeing like we had a kid, me and my brother, he's like a Mero, you know what I mean? He's a big, strong guy. He's 245 pounds, he's huge. And he lifts weights all the time. He's just like how we were, It's incredible. So we're gonna be seeing them tonight too.
Oh, good.
But Joel's doing great, man. His pool business is really thriving, and he collects classic cars now. He's got like 11 of them.
Oh, wow. Are you doing more corporate events? Have you cut back a little bit? Are you still doing schools? You still
that's
get
a great
calls?
question. I just started doing more corporate events, and I just I think I just mentioned I just did the winter conference for the sheriffs in Florida, and I got to tell you what's so cool about that was Ron DeSantis was there and spoke, and I was the keynote speaker. And after I spoke, when I got off the stage, I just had sheriffs approaching me, and they're giving me their cards, going, you got to come to our county. I got to have you in my county. You got to speak to my officers, Mm-hmm. So next, let's see, the 20, I think it's the 25th to the 28th of this month, I'm going to be in Flagler County speaking to the Flagler County, all the sheriffs will see me every day. We're going to be speaking to the sheriffs. And so I'm really looking forward to that. But yes, I'm doing more corporate events now, which is great funding for my school events,
Okay. Yeah, I understand. How do you tailor your speeches and your assemblies to adults as opposed to high school kids?
Well, my story is my story, Trip, but the way I do it is I really use the point of my own life. Like so many times as adults, we become complacent in life. Mm-hmm. And we say things like, those were the days. And when you say those were the days, you're basically saying your best days have passed you, where I want people to realize the rest of their life will be the best of their life. You know, you could do anything you set your mind to, man. We could grow from grace and knowledge from mistakes we made in the past. You want to start a side business, you want to write a book, you want to do something. Don't give up on dreams and goals, man. It's never too late. And so I really use that part of my corporate presentation to inspire people, my peers, to not just settle. You know, don't become comfortable in life. Comfortable is not a real fun feeling. I like to be content, but I always want to have something to do. I always want to have something I can inspire to do. And it's always about helping someone else. When you do for others, you do for yourself. And when you help others, man, I always tell people, you want to be happy? Help someone else become happy. You want to be successful? Help someone else become successful. Giving while you're living, so you're knowing where it's going.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. I miss you, Maris. You know, I'm going to make a point to come see you, man. I want to go see Coach O'Leary. I can hit you and Coach up at the same time up there in Georgia. December, one of my former players plays for the Washington Commanders, and I think they're playing the Falcons in December. So let's make a date, man. I'll let you know, brother.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm still a huge Buffalo Bills fans, and if they would have beaten Cincinnati, they would have played KC at the Atlanta, because they had a neutral site that they had picked out. So we had tickets to the game, and unfortunately, they lost to the Bengals in Buffalo.
Oh, man. All right, brother. I miss you. I love you, man. Thank you for all that you do for this world and their kids, man. You are an angel in my eyes. I'll see you soon, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, friends for life, buddy. I love you, man. You take care. God.
Hey, what an interview with Marc Mero. Is he not an amazing person? Don't forget, on Monday and Wednesdays, we have editions, Coach Tripp's Tips or the Bear Facts, sometimes sports books worth reading, Kids Corner, all that on Monday and Wednesdays. Replay the show on Tuesday if you miss it. All of our shows are archived on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel and click subscribe. Search Paul Tripoli Coach's Corner. I want to give a shout out. Thursday, we're going to do local sports report. I'm going to give a shout out to Devin Witherspoon, number 5 pick in the first round of the NFL draft to the Seattle Seahawks, a Pine Forest grad and Illinois grad. Make us all proud. This is DB town right here, as we have 4 DBs, D'Anthony Bell, Emerson, and Witherspoon, and Jeremy Reeves, one of my players at Catholic, all in the NFL. Next week, you don't want to miss it. Dr. Galen McCullough, that's right, world-renowned surgeon, center for the Crimson Tide, 61 through 64, only lost 4 games in his years there. Snapped of Ken Stabler and Joe Namath, a friend and surgeon and doctor and confidant of Coach Bryant. You don't want to miss that interview next week. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait. Wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
Step One works so hard to get you in the perfect car.
Looking for a better car buying experience? With the Step One Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step One supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step One Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola today.
75 years of service in high-tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High-tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on your home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Will Rentschler is your go-to agent in Pensacola, Florida for the service you deserve at the price that you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Will Rentschler has you covered. Call 850-433-4678 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Legal disclaimer, individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.